walking on sand and holding your hand. Feel like a tourist in my own homeland, in my own homeland. Enjoying the bright, the warm sunlight. Oh my God, what a beautiful sight in my own homeland.
Greetings, kings and queens. Welcome to another Real Stuff podcast. Today is Friday, and when it's Friday, we have our Poetry Corner. And today our Poetry Corner guest is none other than Miss Christine Neil Wright, and she will be our featured poet this morning. I also have with me this morning my podcasting team. So stick and stay, don't go nowhere unless you're going to have to pick up your tea or your coffee or whatever beverage you have this time of the morning.
Ooh, this place, it is definitely blessed, my own homeland. North or south, feel free to wander about. You can jump, dance, or sing and shout in my own homeland. Give yourself a treat, a few days or a week, and you will see just what I mean. Just take my advice, everyone is nice. You feel like royalty, my friend.
Yes. Let me say to all of you this morning, welcome to another Real Stuff podcast and to our Poetry Corner segment. I'm not going to ask you this morning what's happening in your neck of the woods. I'm just going to go straight into poetry this morning, and I have my poetry guest with me. So, Christine, are you there with me?
I'm here, Roger that. Are you hearing me clearly?
Oh my gosh, you're loud. You're like you're sitting right beside me. That's what I like. So, what's happening? What's happening this morning in your neck of the woods?
Well, number one, the connection with our service provider, I will not say which one, is giving us Hades and hell and all on top of everything that you can think of. We're having a terrible connection here, and I'm not the only one complaining about it. So whether you're on Wi-Fi or you're on slow internet, it's still giving an issue.
Yes.
It's not flowing properly at all.
Look at it this way: it's technology, and it have its days when it's good, and it have the day when it's going to give you a lot of trouble. So let's use it as best as we can. And I mean, hey, in case you get knocked off, we got backed up for you. Don't worry yourself.
Yoo-hoo!
All right. I see you come with a battalion, so that's good. That's good. The last time you were, I'm going to say the last time. The first time you came, and you came on a different show. You were featuring your animation, books? I can't remember. I know you're involved in some you're an animated artist, right? Help me out here. Come on, help me out. Right? And you're also...
So we were talking about my journey then, and we had a few poems that I read that were of interest, and actually to explain those poems a little bit as best as I could. So that was really good. Did we have fun?
Oh, yes.
It was great. And I'm sure what I have today between, I have a very good reading that I think will be of great interest to our children out there, our heritage is concerned, and our heroes. This is just some of our heroes, heritage ones and all of that. I'm sure they'll enjoy it for the time that we're on here.
Well, kick it off then. Why not kick it off with whatever you think is best, because the floor is now yours. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to be reading the book Nancy and Brandy Nanny. Right, this is a very good book. It has a lot of emotion in it. So here we go. This is written by Rebecca Portello, and let's talk to Rebecca Portello. Okay? Let's go with the book first of all. Okay, here goes.
Okay, go ahead.
Many years ago, in the 1740s, when Jamaica was ruled by the British, an old woman walked by a clear river in a village deep in the Blue Mountains. She was dressed in white, her head wrapped in a white turban. The water gushed by her sandal-clad feet as memories of the people and places in her life flooded her mind. The high-pitched sound of a child's voice broke the song. She turned to see 8-year-old Nancy running towards her. Granny, Nanny! Granny, Nanny! Granny, Nanny! The little girl said again, her voice rising anxiously as she grabbed for the old woman's calloused hand. The old woman's eyes sparkled, and a smile spread across her face. Nancy was one of her favorites. After all, she had helped to name her. Granny Nanny liked the name Nancy because it reminded her of stories of Nancy, the tricky spider cat who cleverly wove his way into her African childhood. Granny Nanny, I need your help, Nancy said, sounding much older than her years. Granny Nanny looked at Nancy's tear-stained face and quietly said, Tell me, what has happened? It's my dog, she's... Nancy paused to take a few breaths. She stopped breathing. When? A little while ago. I've been looking for you everywhere. She has been the same since last week when she dragged Nancy out of the river. She's been really tired all the time. And then she fell over the door. She won't come and fix her. Granny Nanny knew all about how Aki had saved Nancy's little brother Nancy from drowning. She also knew that the dog was quite old. She bent down and looked gently and directly into Nancy's eyes. Nancy, she said in that same quiet voice, I can't fix her. Why not? You're our leader. They say you have magic powers. They say you once made a big black pot boil without any fire. It gave off fumes so strong that when the British soldiers leaned over the pot, they lost their balance and fell in, never to come back out. Maybe, Granny Nanny answered with a mysterious smile of her own, aware of the stories her people, the Maroons, like to tell about her. But I can't fix Aki. And Nancy continued, they say you once dared a whole row of British soldiers to fire at you, and then you turned away from them, bent over and caught the bullet. Well, that's a good way to get respect, don't you think? Granny Nanny asked, her face briefly breaking into a smile before she looked at Nancy seriously and said, But I can't fix Aki. But it should be easy for you to fix Aki so she can breathe and move again. She's just a little dog. Granny Nanny looked down at the small brown-eyed girl fondly and held out her hand. Where is Aki now? At home, lying on the veranda. That's where I found her. Will you come and look at her? You can use your special powers, the ones you use to take care of people who are sick, to make her breathe and move again. The herbs I use only work with the sick. It sounds like Aki is past that now. I'm sorry, Nancy. I know how much you love Aki, but I can't fix her. Nancy nodded sadly, gazing up at the woman by her side. Come, young Nancy, Granny Nanny said gently. Walk with me along the river. I have a story to tell you. Nancy squeezed Granny Nanny's hand tightly and nodded slowly. Nancy had heard many of Granny Nanny's stories. She loved to listen to Granny Nanny's strong, vibrant voice tell the history of their people. I come from a village in Africa, a country far, far away from here, across the Atlantic. As a child, I used to love to hear stories just like you about my people. They were called CASHAPP, Granny Nanny began. I was happy there in our village. Just when I was turning from a girl into a woman, men came and took me, my brothers, and a lot of other people away from our village. They put the chains and forced us to walk for a long, long time, day after day, night after night, until we came to blue, green water that stretched farther than you or I could ever see. The endless water was lit by a moon brighter than the brightest star. Underwater was the biggest ship I have ever seen. It seemed even bigger than our village. On the ship, there were many people who, like me, had been taken from all over Africa, some in words I had never heard before. Randy Nanny continued, her brown eyes taking on a distant, far-away look as she rubbed her hands over her slim wrist, remembering. They forced me down into a dark, crowded place by hands and feet in chains. They shackled me to a stranger who was as scared as I was. It was then that I knew that my freedom was gone. Nancy shivered, a mixture of grief and awe on her face. All of her attention on Brandy Nanny. Nancy imagined how it must have felt to be tied up in a place as dark as a moonless night. Is that how you came to Jamaica? She asked. Yes, Brandy Nanny nodded slowly, speaking more softly. I was sent to a place called a plantation. There was a big house and a lot of land that was divided up into large fields of sugarcane. Remember the ship I just described? It seems like you could have picked about 1,000 of those ships on that land. We had to work in those fields all day, every day, from sunrise to sunset, even when we didn't want to. We were slaves, all of us, men, women, and children. Brandy Nanny fingered the raised, shiny scar on her left arm, her voice rising in anger. We had no right, no say in how we lived our lives. We were not paid for our hard work, and we were treated as if we were next to nothing. By that point in Brandy Nanny's tale, Nancy's grief over Aki had turned into anger on behalf of Brandy Nanny. Her eyes followed Brandy Nanny's hand, glued to the scar. She realized Brandy Nanny had gotten on that plantation place. She frowned and looked up at the sky, wondering how it was possible for some people to own others like her mother owned goats and chickens. Brandy Nanny continued, her voice a little stronger now. I was able to escape from that plantation with my brothers Kojo, a compound, Kwako, Taro, Kofi, and Kwao. Nancy added with the beginning of a smile before Brandy Nanny could finish. Nancy had long ago learned the names of Brandy Nanny's brothers, many of whom also became Maroon leaders. But Brandy Nanny, Nancy said, serious once again, you showed us so many things like how to push out by covering ourselves with leaves so that we could surprise our enemies. You even showed us how to blow into a cow horn and made its blaring sound to signal when there is trouble or danger. Brandy Nanny, you know so much. That's another reason why I thought you could fix Aki. Oh, you mean the abeng? Brandy Nanny smiled. I learned how to use it in Africa. But Nancy, Brandy Nanny said quietly, her voice at once sad and sweet. I can't fix Aki. Remember, Brandy Nanny explained, we suffered many losses too, and I couldn't fix it so that our people wouldn't get hurt. To keep our land, we had to fight the British many times. Once, they even destroyed our town. Many of our people died. Some marched westward, hoping to join up with my brother Pujo's group. But you came back, Nancy added again, remembering the tales she had learned about Maroon history. Brandy Nanny nodded. That's right, young Nancy. And although it hasn't always been good times, we kept faith and have managed to live fairly happily since. food to eat and water to drink. Brandy Nanny stopped and bent down once more to look earnestly into Nancy's bright brown eyes. And that is what you must try to do. You must have faith. Aki is at rest now. The sky had become deep red. The color of the reddest rose as the sun began to set. In their village, men, women, and children were rushing around getting ready for supper. Nodded solemnly, a clouded look on her face as she gazed into Brandy Nanny's wise eyes. She finally realized that Aki was really and truly gone. If Brandy Nanny couldn't bring her back, then no one and nothing could. Nancy began to think more about Brandy Nanny's story, and a calm look appeared on her face. I see what you are trying to tell me now, Brandy Nanny, Nancy said in a voice that increased in strength with each word. You have helped me. I can carry my memories of Aki in my heart, just like you carry your memories of all the people you love. They live on in your stories, and Aki will live on in mine. Brandy Nanny's answering smile lit up her aged brown eyes as she stood up, looking fondly at the little girl by her side. Then, in a soft, slightly trembling voice, Nancy pointed towards the village and asked, Will you come with me to say goodbye to Aki? Brandy Nanny nodded, holding out her hand. Let's go home. And together, young, hand in old, they walked away from the clear, sparkling river, old eyes and young ones glowing with peace. The end.
All right, all right. So that was what, Brandy Nanny?
Nancy and Brandy Nanny, written by Rebecca Tortello.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful book that I think persons in the diaspora and even our locals in Jamaica need to get. Not just Jamaicans, but anyone of any race. It doesn't really matter. It's a beautiful story of this book. It has some historical notes at the back and the vocabulary for those persons who doesn't know what an abeng is. A blaring Ashanti, or Calliston plantation. Those words are given at the back of the book. It's really, really beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Rebecca, for telling for that. So,
Words. I know they're bang. That's the cow on.
The cow horn.
Yes, I know they're bang. So
we had a visit too.
You pardon me?
I took my daughter with a small group on Monday this week, to the Maroon Town, the Charlestown Maroon Town. We had a wonderful experience.
Okay.
We saw in the museum some artifacts of the slavery experience, the old iron board, a lot of things, how the fish catch, that bamboo thing they used to make ancient, long time, the machetes, everything. You have to go there to actually experience
to see it, yeah.
That. So yes, it was awesome, and the river turned up.
the river came up.
No man, when I say the river turned up, it's awesome. It's further down
the river,
from
yeah.
the museum, but it's beautiful. That was the last part of what we experienced. We experienced the dance. We learned how to dance, the African dance, and with the chief Kimberly, or I don't remember her first name.
Marcia.
But the chief. Marcia, thank you very much. And it was and her husband,
Rodney.
As well.
Randy, Rodney, yeah.
Randy. But now I get old enough to send it in itself. But too many names. Well, but we read that story for the children before we started, and it was an awesome experience.
Well, everyone is here. They want to hear more poems, you know. So give us some more, some more.
Okay, for
I see Cleve here. Is he? Are you saying something, Cleve?
Who's that?
Repeat it again for me, Cleve.
Yeah, ask a question.
Cleve want to ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so thanks for reading that. I'm in Canada, so I'm not aware of many things that go on in Jamaica daily. But something like that, do you know how much of it might be used in schools these days? Because I think that the education system should be very appropriate and relevant to students, with, especially in the month that's just gone, with the national heroes. How often do you think these books and stories and visits are made to such historical sites in Jamaica by the school children?
I think we definitely need to run with this, not just with things like these, especially now that children are in virtual classes, have been for the last 2 years. There's a disconnect for some of those internet issues and the person-to-person stuff. Yes, we know we have to follow protocols and all of that. But once you take a child out of the desk and take them out there in nature, it doesn't have to be way out of bush or way out of the country. You can start by telling them about a tree, telling them about a plant, telling them the importance of a plant, and get them to use their critical thinking skills. I don't think they understand when they're given what you call it now, assignments, plant a seed, a cup, and watch it grow. I don't think they understand the fullness of what they're really trying to tell them. So if you get them in these things on a regular basis, especially learning how to read, because that is so important for them. Don't make sense? It show them something and then don't know how to explain it, or they don't know what is on paper. And these kids go up to grade 6 and don't know how to read, which is very, very bad. So not all of them, some of them. Everybody learns differently. So I think this book and books of this nature really should be used by the ministry, and people like myself who can articulate it in an animated fashion should be doing this as a project for the schools, so that they either come into the schools or we find a way to interact with these children with these things, and it would definitely help them.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Thank you.
Okay, you can continue.
Okay, so my journey in time. My journey in time has taken me on a trek animated by mosquitoes, backlash, through bamboo walks, cool streams, up rugged mountains, trails with miles covered with burns, conflicts, challenges, and insurmountable changes. Armed with a backpack of memories, unanswered questions, and what little confidence I had left in any small pocket, and an umbrella, just in case it begins to rain. My offsprings as my luggage, we moved towards a temporary escape to ease our minds from our situation. On the way, right from the city to the highways with fast cars and heavy trucks, buying the toll twice for a faster ride to our destination. The wide road before us, sandwiched with nature, houses, and industry. We sped along, reminiscing as the kids are engaged in reading, one animated and engrossed in their device. We, to revisit the past and how much the past still holds our future. Too much to divulge, but the pain of unstable foundations, sinister stewards whose cruelty, inequity, physical and emotional abuse drives fear, insecurity, and dread, breaking the hymen of our childhood, its innocence, and the confidence to be strong, firm, and powerful citizens to overcome disdain and evil that must come our way in life. My heart burns within. Digesting the stained pollution with my bloodline, its nonchalant and enchantment to the cruelty to our own kind, blood-stained holocaust to destroy those that have a voice and are not easily brought or sold to live in bloody pastures, to spare the life of those loving to do wrong. We drove down the mountains, embracing the panoramic scenes of the wind veins in the distance, colors of skies, clouds, green and structural, while insurmountable impatient motorists cheat death by utter stupidity, breaking the rules to get to where they roam. This journey in time is pregnant with history over half a decade and must come to pass, for its birthing pains are now very much coming along. The water breaks with dark clouds, hovering over stones, fierce, hovering hailstones, fierce winds, intolerance, and lightning voicing injustice. The AC unit broken, the vehicle gets foggy inside, compromising our safety on this flooded road. Enough is enough now. No more breathing and holding this evil in. The child bursts the plague. The child bursts the birth passage, slides through for air and for life. The unknown ahead is reaction, success, analyzing or strife, arrive at our destination under construction. Our lives a work in progress to leave the hurt and pain behind on this my journey in time. Rock, rock.
I mean, I feel give a round of applause. You have to wake up. You have to wake up your audience. You have some audience in the Zoom room this morning, and you have to wake them up.
Yes.
So give them one so you can wake them up this morning. I see you have Antara is there, Beverly is there, Cleve is there, Errol is there, Kennedy is there, Courtney is there, Culture is there. What was it? Akita is there. So wake them up, man. Wake them up. Let them start clap.
Franco, can I just say something to her?
Go ahead now. Go ahead.
As she prepares, yes. What I admired about the breeding was another part of her dimension of her skill, because where she read it, she made this story come alive, and she actually read the book so that children could be engaged. And as Cleve said, reading and helping children to read, especially in these days when the internet is really doing a damage to the language and the construct of young children. Sentences, a lot of them don't know how to articulate intonation and to make proper sentences. Okay, the internet is good and the social media is good to quick communication, but it is doing a disservice. And so we need more of this kind of dramatic reading where intonation, pronunciation, moods are demonstrated. Congratulations, Christina. Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is something that I just love to do, and I tend to just write poetry, not for the sake of poetry. I might be listening to a situation. I mean, that last situation we had with the church issue and person going through the motions to find out all of those things. I mean, I'm not ready to write about that yet. So,
yes,
I mean,
welcome.
it's just really interesting how we think there. I do have a lot of poems. Let's see if this one. Say, I'm going to wake them up. I try to find some wake them up poems.
All
right. Have you ever seen a gypsy? All right. So this one is called the Gothic Mask Gypsy. Pay attention to the details here. He entered into a little room, fully charged with candles, incense, crystals. She was full of beauty, soaked in softer tones, her eyes dense and deep like a vortex without a floor. Gothic she was, alluring, subtle and strong. He was mesmerized, knowing full well in this place he did not belong. As the chimes danced to the wind, the atmosphere was charged, was about to be enchanted in her spiritual arms. When she said, "Hold nothing back. Tell me all." That reigns inside your heart. Then laughing, then touching his lips with her finger, "Never mind. I will tell you by my face so hard." Things he revealed had him open-mouthed. Was this coincidence or does she know what she was really talking about? Cautious and immersed, he watched as the cards displayed tales of rules, sentinels, mystic fabled creatures beyond, above, and beneath, come alive on the display, even the scent of marijuana was prominent, that from her special pipe she drew. Exhaling, it emanated mixed with the various incense in the space. Her eyes on fire, he swore he glimpsed floating lights and shadows disappearing quickly through the room. As the momentum got stronger, his many questions boiled within, alerting her spiritual detector at the culmination for knowledge of his own destiny. On the peak of the matter at hand, that was most sure. She became silent after 3 hours and would not say anything more. He beforehand received instructions to be carried out to the sea. She prayed, giving thanks to the spirit, packed away the cards, and proceeded to let him exit her door. As the chimes again danced to another powerful wind, he was both stunned, awed, cautious, reasoning within himself to acquire by any means more wealth, to revisit this Gothic mass history, and have her all to himself? That's the question. What you get from that?
You want questions?
Yes.
Yes, questions.
What was going
Questions. She
through
want to
your
know
head
what.
as I read?
She want to know what was going through your heads.
You want to know what was going through my head?
Your head?
Yes, I want to know what was going through your head for those who are listening who heard that.
Come on, poets. Come on, poets. Answer the question. Bop, bop, bop.
For me, the focus was on her ability to put lived experiences or imaginary experiences in stories. Of course, the audio was not the best for me, so I couldn't hear all the connected words. But again, your presentation and your connectivity with audience is excellent. That was what I was focusing on mainly throughout the reading.
Oh man. Okay, I'm trying to find some.
Maybe,
Okay,
Christina, maybe you could, sometimes we see something in a poem that the author, what was your intention, your main point for this particular poem? You could share that with us and let's see if we concur. Maybe one or two of the poets or the hosts may want to say something about that. What did you aim to achieve with this poem?
All right, so this piece, can you hear me clearly though?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
All right, so this piece, it was like someone who dared to go and have a reading, so to speak, and it's never been there before. Probably he was not, it's not everybody who wants to go and have a reading per se. So probably something was happening in the person's life, and they were curious as to what was going to happen and to see if really actually give a challenge to them something that really worked through. And when he went to this place, was a bit nervous. And when he saw the person, she was very beautiful and, all clad in black and stuff like that. And when she asked him, what do you want to know? Or you must tell me everything. But then she said, in a smile, I don't want to hear anything from you. I'll show you what I can do with these things, right? And she proved to him that everything that was happening to him was actually being displayed with whatever devices she was using to get that information. But then, because she's a quote-unquote spiritual person, when he wanted to find out if whatever challenge he was having, he wanted to know what his destiny was going to be, whether good things are going to happen to him or bad things are going to happen. And then she stopped right there, picking him up and said, listen, you need to follow the instructions I gave you, what I do, and then hear me and go about your business. But now he had other ideas because, yes, he wanted to find out. And he's saying to himself, okay, if I can build a relationship with this person if she is, I wouldn't use the word gullible enough, right? If he could bring more money to the table, maybe they could have a relationship, and then she would have her to himself where she can tell him everything that's going to happen before it happens. But I think she would have none of it based on how the point was closed out.
Okay. Thank you for that. I don't know if anybody else got that clearly, but it takes new meaning for me when you have spoken. And that is one of the reasons why I think the podcast team had said when poets come on, we would like not just for them to read, but to give us some background, because many times we have interpretation which is not what the poet intended. Thank you for that. Don't know if anybody else has any other question.
Anyone else before she go on to the next one? All right, Christine, proceed.
All right. So one of the things that I do as a, what you call it now, I do poems and I do stories. So whenever I have a host coming on, I will get a background story from them of what we were going to be discussing.
Okay.
Now, this is a story, a short story as an intro before the person comes on. This was some years ago at Rocky Point, Mystery at Rocky Point, and a bomber B-16 or something like that. A bomber B-16 went down with 3, I think it was 5 soldiers. Don't quote me on that. But this is the story that I read on air, B-26 Marauder. All right, so I'm going to read that to you. I hope that wakes up my audience. Okay?
Yeah, man.
Mystery at Rocky Point. There was another wicket with the boys playing a friendly game of cricket. The weather was clear. The sun danced its glowing rays energy on the earth as the wind from Rocky Point raised its miasma on surrounding areas. Another bowl, another great wicket, bringing laughter and friendly confrontation amongst those friends. They were in a rather jubilant mood when they heard an unusual sound like from a large warplane passing overhead. They were accustomed to seeing planes of this nature doing maneuvers during the training at the base, but this didn't sound like one of them, and the boys were concerned. "Is what at?" one of them shouted. "No, man, this looks serious, brother!" Another cried out. "Hey!" shouted another. "It's a flying low, and look at the long line of smoke following behind it. Jesus! It looks like it's a crash! Into the sea!" All of them chorused. The game was abandoned as each boy ran as fast as their little legs could take them to get to Rocky Point. They were jolted by a loud crash and breathlessly made their way to the site. By the time they arrived, a whole community of persons living in the fishing village and surrounding areas had already gathered at Rocky Point. They heard people giving their own account of what they had witnessed. "Me say, Lord have mercy. Me see the plane getting lower and like it stall. Then all of a sudden, the big plane starts to spin like a gig, and oh God, it just goes boom into the sea." Another said, "He thinks that the plane was low and it looked like something was wrong with the plane, and the pilot couldn't bring it back up with all of that smoke behind it." One other lady was bawling and praying, "Mercy, mercy, Jesus! Look, the 2 body parts where the fisherman fish out of the sea. I could understand that. Why, Lord God, mercy!" Another man was saying, "It come like a dream, me telling you. When the plane hit the water, the sea starts to boil and bubble. Then you see it just swallow up the big plane and things start floating up." Shortly after, the scene was visited by military vehicles and uniformed soldiers. They controlled the site by distancing curious onlookers, even chasing away those who refused to leave. At a distance, each young man started to imagine out loud what they thought might have happened inside the warplane before it went down. This is what they imagined. This is the captain. Airline space. Mayday, Mayday. This is B-26 Marauder in distress. I repeat, we are in distress. We are going down into the ocean by Rocky Point. Or maybe they said, Lord have mercy on us. Or, Mama, I love you. Or 23rd Psalm being repeated. But whatever was happening on that warplane must have been frightening on that Sunday afternoon on January 7, 1945. There were no survivors. Only the memory of 5 or 6 men who perished with the warplane buried beneath the sea. That was 75 years ago during World War II. How many loved ones of the deceased men were ever given any closure on the fated plane that meted those promising young soldiers? We wish to honor their memory and share our condolences for those who are alive, hoping that somehow they will find comfort that their soldiers were willing to give their lives for a cause. Well, that story was dedicated to the cause, to make sense of the mystery of that fateful day. And Kennedy Singh is the gentleman who I had interviewed with that. It took a lot to writing that story, just to kind of get that information out and to put those boys there, because this is what people were talking about back then. Some of the boys were alive or some of them passed on, but it's just the information that we got that we could put that information, that story together. I don't know, to explain all of that again. How did you enjoy that story?
Well, let me jump in first for the others. This was not just some history intertwined with its story, but the presentation again was excellent, and this one really had twist of emotions, excitement in the beginning, then the solemnity came down at the end, and real commentary, real historical poem. A class. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more comment?
Yes. Yeah. I also noted the great drama and how much life was put into that tragedy. And I know the Rocky Point area in which the story was based. And, when something like that happens, it's a real tragedy. And she really brought out the tragedy in the story. That was quite good.
Thank you.
Okay. Next.
Thank you.
Flavius, I see
Could you clarify what Rocky Point that was, please?
Say that again, that last part again. Could I clarify what?
What Rocky Point that was?
It's actually a point, oh Lord, I don't remember which parish it is, but...
I'll tell you.
You actually have 2 Rocky Points, You have one in Clarendon and you have one in St. Thomas. Both of them are fishing beaches. And the last plane crash not too long ago was actually in St. Thomas.
Oh.
I think it was the one in Clarendon, Flavius. I think it was the one in Clarendon.
Okay.
So it's the one where the back in the day they usually have their practices. The soldiers usually teach them how to fly the B-26 bomber back then.
Oh, that is yeah. Okay.
That would have been Clarendon or St. Thomas.
No, that's Clarendon.
That's Clarendon, because they used to have
air base.
Air base.
Yeah, air base. Yeah, Burnham Field.
Yeah. That is Southern Clarendon.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to come in here a little bit. I'm going to put on my extended time this morning. So I want you to do some more, Christine. Go ahead.
Do some more. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Uh,
Don't worry yourself, man. Don't worry yourself. You have
all
yourself.
right. I can't think
It's just,
straight now.
it's just 10. You sing, then do anything you want, no, man. Hey, besides your time for shine. Some
All right,
people
let me-
get 15, you get an hour.
Well, one of the tragedies that I enjoy, well, I wouldn't say I enjoyed, that I experienced in 1984 or 88 was Hurricane Gilbert. That was an experience. The music that was played on the radio back then, Daddy took the battery out of the car and the roof flew off without a visa and everything was wet. So we had to evacuate the house and catch up on our little attic with the dirt and the baby. And it was scary. We had no door at the attic. They call it an attic or cellar. And I remember looking across the bush and I saw this huge tree on a hillside. And when I see Hurricane Gilbert bust that down and to protect that, he said, Lord Jesus, we are going dead. But I remember the song that Radio Jamaica was playing, Anita Baker. There ain't no need to worry, 'cause the night is gonna change. It'll be all over in the morning. There ain't no need to worry, 'cause the night is gonna break. I tell you, that song just stayed in my mind forever. Every time I hear that music, I remember Hurricane Gilbert. But I was getting very creative and I wrote a song about Hurricane Gilbert. I don't know if I can remember everything. And it's a little rough. You ready for this?
Throw it down.
He said, I need an island to make love to, and her name's Jamaica, where I'm heading to. I'm gonna lay her down and make her sorrow, let her body pain for a new tomorrow. I want love. So I showed her some manners and I went away. I came and tell the countries in the US of A. I knew I would die, so Texas got me hard just to show all your people how to serve the Lord. Because when he comes, hey, it's without warning. It could be tonight, either tomorrow morning. You gotta be prepared and have no sin. Expect God feel it in your heart, so then do this thing. You get love. Do. Hell rejected and hell rejected. Gilbert versus Jamaica. Hell rejected and rejected. Gilbert versus Jamaica. I want love. Do. I want love. Do. I want love. Do. Wait out! Woo, that's it.
Well, this one is a bombshell.
Hey, I can't hear you like a boombox in the background.
Really great.
You like a percussion, you know. Kennedy, you're saying something there, Kennedy?
Yes, I just wanted to comment on how amazing she is. I just love how her presentation is, how she moves now. The whole piece is just really amazing. I love that very much.
So you see, you get enough love this morning, enough love. And by the way, that's what I call it, the tune that you're trying to beatbox. I think that's the title of the song. You know, we need love.
Yeah,
it's a rap
it's
tune.
more than that. I love that song. For some reason, I remember when I was thinking about it, I remember hearing that tune, and I was saying, I want to write something about that experience. I had to put that down in history. It was about a couple stanzas long, and that was the culmination. I did the first stanza and the second stanza. I can't find the book, but I can recreate it. But it was when I did it at school. Oh gosh, people are like, the kids are like, oh my gosh, Sissy, you can rap. You can't change your accent. You can't change your voice. You just the thing just cut off. Oh gosh, it was just putting history down there and showing how we felt based on how we saw it. Because the same morning, we went to a place called Stony Hill, and we were wondering what all the commotion, people buying out the stores. Them time I think it was $5 for one bottle of rest right there. $5, you know. Can you imagine much for a rest right there? No. And we had to walk it from Stony Hill a couple miles down to where we were living. And then I was saying to my sister, but it don't look like no hurricane I come. Because everybody I get excited. And the place was so nice and calm. You ever hear about before I stand there is a calm? We couldn't understand it. So we couldn't buy no woolly for food and all and sit there. We have whatever we have in the farm, we just work with it, right? But when the place starts to turn upside down, we say, Lord Jesus, that is this dragon dead. And when we see the roof fly off, we had to run out to the house like, Sophie, run out to the house. And I'm saying, and then the eye was another significant part. I've never experienced anything like that in my formative years. And I'm like, okay, as long as I live, once there's a hurricane, I shut down. Literally shut down. Because of what happened in Hurricane Gilbert. It was something though.
Yeah, man, hurricane. Well, I'm living in the Caribbean to Florida is a hurricane prone. What do you call it? Area, yeah. And I've been through them. I know a lot of Jamaicans have been through them and other people in other parts of the Caribbean. And
yeah,
you know, it's funny. I left Jamaica before Gilbert, but then 2 years after that, or 3 years after that, I experienced one in Florida, and that was one of the most devastating hurricane ever hit Florida. You know, from that time until now. So I understand. So the floor is yours. Continue. Continue.
All right. So sorry.
You know what I love?
Interview.
Okay, go ahead. Go.
No, man. Continue.
No, I was gonna say what I really love. I love when you do those the sound, the animated sounds and the dramatized, like because when you were doing the Rocky Point, it brings out a movie that I saw. It comes on every Memorial Weekend or Veterans Day, and it one they call Pearl Harbor. It's one of the current Pearl Harbor with Ben Affleck and some more, you know, the younger Hollywood stars them. And the same scenery that you were talking about, the plane flying over and people saw it and it was going down. There's a part of that in that same movie when you were reading that part. It's like that was what I was imagining. The same piece was in the movie. You know, some kids, playing. They weren't playing cricket because they were in Hawaii, so they were more played like baseball. And you could see, them watching, the planes, and one of them was riding his bike before, and that was when the planes were coming in to attack them out in the sea there, the suicide bombers. So go ahead, my dear, go ahead.
Right, this is another interview I did, and this one was featuring a tour guide in Holywell. Jeremy Schroeder, I hope you're listening. All right, so here we go. Adolescent boys can be quite a handful, but this soft-spoken only child, Martin, was a refreshing difference. It was obvious his path was in tune with nature as he relished or was content walking the long way home by himself. Sorry. As he reflected Mr. Davis's biology class assignment for the weekend about the anatomy of birds, he could now understand and appreciate life and nature, now seeing how responsible humans are to taking care of it. From the great whale to the tiniest organism, plays its part in the balance of or existence. As he walked along the pathway, he could hear the busy woodpecker. Then a curious mongoose stood up in curiosity at him, then bolted across the cane field. Then came a long goat, herded by 3 dogs to a field of rich, lush grass. The lead dog looked him in the eye and gave a solitary Martin was so impressed with the harmony of the animals as he looked behind him when he bumped his foot and almost fell on a bird that lay injured in front of him. Without a thought, he analyzed the situation and picked up the bird gently. He used his skills to stabilize the injured wing with a straw and matches stick. Took the bird home and placed it in an unoccupied chicken coop, gave it water and crushed corn. The bird realized he was not in danger and drank thirstily and enjoyed the treat. Martin was happy of its progress, and the bird thought he was unlike those 2-footed creatures who tried to kill it. The next day, as Martin went to feed it, he flew out. At least he got his strength back and can fly, he said. The following day, he checked to see if the bird came back, but not for a treat, but to hang around chirping in his bird-like language, saying, "That's what is a good God's creation bless you richly always in whatever you do. I will never forget you. Goodbye." And with that, the bird dropped a branch on his head, which made him more curious to dive deeper into nature. This was recorded in his class assignment. Mr. Davis was ecstatic and told him that the twigs and leaves had significance. During the presentations, Martin was the last student. There were so many questions, and of course, he received a grade A+. And that was a true story. From
it's a true story.
Yeah, I just what I normally do is before I have an interview, people hate the word interview. They get very nervous.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't use interview.
Right. So I give them like a warm-up call. Or, warm-up call. So we just have a conversation. So tell me, what do you like? What is your passion? What makes you happy? What gets you up in the morning? Why do you go to work? Why do you do this? And they start to spring off everything. They say, all right, hold on. So I start, jump on. You know what? I'm a bust a story for you. So before we actually start the conversation, I use this little warm-up or teaser, you want to call it. Once they hear that story, hello, you have to say, all right, hold on, time is up. It went so smoothly and all of that. People just said, I know I got very, very nervous when I was supposed to go on a radio station about 2 years ago. I was so nervous and I brought 2 books with me just to hold on from the book. I mean, thank God. The host said to me, read something from the book. And then I said, all right, now I bust a good tune, Panorama. And I tell you, when I read that piece, it's like, you couldn't hold me again.
Yeah, well, that's
my
true.
passion.
About 16 years ago, I sat down. I was on a radio program. Actually, my radio program at the time. And I had an artist that came by. And even though we're in the room, she was extremely nervous. And I said to her, I remember doing my first radio show, and when they turned the mic on for me to talk, I couldn't talk. They had to bring 2 bottles of water and go to commercial, and I drank one. And the guy said to me, just think of something. Or I even wrote down what I want to say, and I couldn't say it either. And then I remember I went to a studio one night. I was sitting in a radio program, and the disc jockey was saying that the best thing to do when you have somebody in a room with you, don't tell them anything about the interview, right? Tell them you're going to reason. And I flip it instead of saying reason. I tell them, so we're going to have a chat session. And we'd be, that night, that young lady took over the show because she was just talking and talking because we were just having a chat session. Because I said to her, just imagine I'm walking down the road and I met you I haven't seen you for a long while. And we had chit chat and a walk. And by the time you're quint, boom, we reach our destination. And it's like we were doing 5 miles with a walk, but we reached like we're just walking for 10 minutes. And man, she just keep talking and talking. So I found out that when you want people to talk, instead of telling them so you're going to interview them, don't interview. You reason or you have a chat session. And you get good good conversation out of them.
Yeah.
The piece you just read, and you said it's a true story. And that's what I said I like. It seems like you can make sounds that just about anything. From a dog to a cat to the clock to the boob, the beatbox and the percussion and thing like this. I remember when you came on the show, the featured guest show, you had mentioned that growing up, this was what you would hear in your household. When your father was reading, you would make a lot of sounds of the different things that are around him and etc. that he's reading. So you adopted the same thing, but to me, you remind me. There was a movie I've seen years ago. This guy, the movie used to name Police Academy, and this guy, this black actor who was a member of the cast, he could make sounds that just about everything, the engine, the siren, you name it. And in real life, that's true. You can do it as well. So the question I'm going to ask you: Have you ever called upon to do like voiceover? They would have a cartoon and they want it to be the voice of maybe a truck, a car, things like that. I don't know if you have ever called.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. But after this, I'm sure they'll be calling. My number is.
No,
I don't want to give up my number because then they're going crazy on my phone. No.
That's true. No, but it's good. It's good. So keep on doing it. Practice become perfect, and you have perfected so far. So keep on doing it.
And it is how my children got involved in reading. Mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of time reading to them, and they have continued that. So I cannot have enough books. When my daughter said, "Mommy, I've read every single book in the house. You need to buy more books for me, or you go to the library, you read the book." I'm not talking on little books. I talk on big books.
Yeah.
Right. My son, my daughter took. Sometimes what I do, I feature our authors. Right. We talk about the book, so I'd read a little synopsis or a little teaser from the book, and get them comfortable. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that it's reading my work. You're reading like that. I've never seen it come to life." Sorry. So whenever I read, I actually dive into the story. I like put colors on these characters. I give them a special voice. I just immerse myself into it. So it's like when I read, a different world, totally different world, and that is what makes it, especially for our children. So I was reading a part of, I love Enid Blyton's books. She does the English thing. So we have structure, and we've got different, the policemen and the fairies and the the pixies and stuff like that. So we give every single one of them a name. So when you're reading that story, they're not going to want to make any noise. They want to hear what voice is coming next.
Sure.
And whenever they're reading, they're going to try to think, okay, how do I change this voice? And I remember reading to the little boy at the library. He couldn't read, basically couldn't read. Having challenges in school. And he gave enough trouble at school.
Yeah.
So it's like he spend more time out the road. And when the gentleman told me that he was having some issues, why not try and have a little session with him there? So I got a book. I said, go and find a book that you like and let us go through it. It was a simple book, lots of pictures and like a henny penny book. And I'm saying, okay. So we started reading, and I'm like, even if you don't know the words, let's try and see if we can figure out some of the words and see if we can give each character a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started with him, I mean, he was just nervous. I said, don't be nervous. You're sitting right beside Aunt Christy, you know. Don't be with nobody else. I just me and you are this. And would you believe it? If I had spent some more time with that young man, I was probably 10, 11, thereabouts. If I had spent more time with that young man, I'm sure he would have gotten a grip on reading, because he was changing his voice to the different, whether the hen or the chicken. So how does a little chicken make? Well, little chicken can't say, that's a big rooster. You have to give the baby chicken a little voice. You have to give the pig a different voice. You have to give a big voice like, or you have to give the goat a voice, or the dog a growl. You know, that sort of thing. Give them a voice.
You're good,
and that will make your journey so exciting.
You're good. So you're ready for reason now when the show are finished?
Yeah, man. This is the last one never read for you.
All right, go ahead.
That one here. So, in our Jamaican language now, the candle on the tree, the cherry tree. Yes, sir. But here is what kind of candle is this? Shouted June from across her fence. She shook her head in pity at her neighbor Mark, who was writing under his cherry tree. He stopped writing, looking very angry and annoyed at this disturbance during his creative moment. What is your problem this time? He asked. Youth! It's long time enough you writing. Your stuff is good. You need to take it to the next level and go public. Nobody now must see your talent if you keep hiding under your sweet summer cherry tree in your backyard with your bad mongrel dog in your yard. Is good thing we're not pregnant or my child would be marked for not getting any cherries from you. Is cherry you really from bottom of June? No, Mark. And yes, the point is, maybe just get a message that Kingston Creative is looking for creatives like artists, storytellers, fashion designers, and writers like you to participate in their monthly virtual artwork. But you know, here, the pandemic about, he fired back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, me know. But all you have to do is read the story about the mosquito drama on video. Me say, me laugh till my belly bottom almost drop out. Do it under this very tree and send it out before the 14th of this month, she said. But that is tomorrow, Mark sighed. Tick-tock, tick-tock. All right. If you chain up your dog and give me some of those sweet, juicy cherries, I will video you on your phone and make sure you do it properly. Really, June? The dogs were jumping on the fence and glaring at June. Yes, but you have to keep the dogs quiet and far from me. Look here, I have better things to do, like eat cherries and go bake a cake in my pressure cooker. Please hurry it up with my cherries. The story done right, so.
I love the dogs and barking in the background. I love it. Yeah, it's really good, really good. So want to thank you for taking time out. I know the difficulty you had this morning, getting online. We couldn't see you on Zoom this morning, but the fact of the matter is you made that effort to be here, and that is what really, let me feel so overwhelmed this morning. So for that reason, I'm going to do the summary myself because it's things like that. I was going to call upon, and well, you know what? I see she's back. I'm going to call upon the next queen in the room, which is Beverly, and see if Beverly wants to do the summary for me this morning. Beverly, you want to unmute your mic and do a little summary for me? Wrap it up.
Guys, can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes.
Thank you. Queen, thank you so much. We appreciate your sharing of your stories and your songs and all the songs. You definitely need to go and get hired to do those songs. You're amazing. I think of Lion King when I think of you. With all the different songs that the people had to do. I mean, you have it all down pat. Some of your pieces were very touching. I like your song, your poems, your story. You should be out there on the platform just taking it in. And we appreciate you sharing your presence with us this morning. And I look forward to hearing more of your stories and your poems and songs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you, Beverly. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Christine, again, for coming this morning. And as I said, the effort that you made this morning, it's overwhelming to me. And I definitely want to have you back. No, I take back the back. I want to have you forward. I want to have you forward again. You understand me? Because, artists, I'm calling you an artiste. Because it's things like this, we strive for. And I say that because what you did this morning, I've done it before, And when you do things like that, it's not love, you love it. It's in your blood. You understand me? In your blood. And I love you love it in your blood. And I applaud you for that very much.
Uncle, may I just slip up? Her title is Queen of Arts.
Queen of Arts.
Queen of Arts. And I would give that to Beverly as well. But I will crown her in time, but I've given that title to her. She loves it, so you give her that title. Thank you.
Okay, you get the title. You get the title this morning, Queen of Arts. Yeah.
Thank you. I love it.
You're welcome.
So for all of my viewers this morning inside the YouTube chat room, thank you also for taking time out, and especially to Empress Talit, who have on the recovery, the recovery journey. Want to thank you this morning, Talit, for being here with us this morning. I see Francine also is in the room as well. And also Beverly was there and she disappeared and she's now in the Zoom room. So thank all of you who participated. And those who didn't participate, we thank you for being here. So please remember to subscribe, like and share the video. And remember, the object of this channel is to educate you and to entertain you. And the Real Stuff podcast is also your Caribbean podcast. So remember that you must live and love every moment of your life and be grateful for each new day. Cherish your family and your friends. Bless others and keep the faith and never lose hope. Remember, prayer changes things regardless of what religion you belong to. You must pray and continue to pray. So on behalf of my podcasting team this morning, I want to thank you. I have Courtney, Flavius, Francine, Max Wanit, and myself. Have a joyful morning, a joyful afternoon, a joyful evening. I know you're in different time zone, especially my friend there, Kennedy, who is all the way down in Africa. I know it's evening for you. And make sure that you have a wonderful weekend. Right? I'm going to ask Queen Lubafo to say Our Father in the Garifuna language. And then Tafina will take on myself to take us out of here. So have a pleasant weekend as well.
You lead us to Fula. You belong far away away. Ajuguala Lebabu Seru. Lida Mua, Lida Sungfula. Lida Mua, Lida Sungfula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
Thank you, everyone.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer sorrow.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time.
I no longer do what I
Bless.
was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me know I said me if it could flee. Me have to take away me say. Me have